No, first time I ever even noticed or even knew anything about it was we had a parishioner at Immaculate Conception who was trying to get her son buried and couldn't because nobody wanted to do the funeral. And so we just said, sure, we'll do the funeral. And it was kind of shocking. And then the part that shocked me the most, there were a number of people at the parish who thought we shouldn't have done it. Oh, yeah, that was like in 1983, and that was just like in the, and of course at that point nobody really in town had AIDS. They were all people coming from the west or the east coast that were coming home to die, basically. For a while, one of the things I did when I went to the hospital, I ended up being the AIDS chaplain for Hennepin County Medical Center. We would go out into the neighborhoods in different churches and that and talk, but also intervene with pastors. And we had a pastor once in a small town. It was kind of famous story because there was two young men that had AIDS in adjoining farms, but because of HIPAA rules, we couldn't tell the farmers next door that the people next door were going through the same thing, and they wouldn't let us, which was kind of sad because there would have been a lot of ministry that could have been done there. But the pastor in this little town just said, not burying him. And we go, well, but I mean, and this is a small town. And I said, the thing we said is, these are your people. This isn't like some big city where nobody knows it. Everybody knows everybody in town. And he said, well, that's part of the problem. I can't let them think that I think this is okay. And I said, you're not thinking you're okay. All you're doing is saying that you're doing the right thing. And it arose out on the East Coast, kind of the response is that they help support the befrienders, the people who would, a buddy system where, because a lot of gay men did not have association with families because their families had disowned them, or because of a stigma attached to AIDS. They had gay families but didn't have birth families or whatever you want to call them that supported them. So a lot of the AIDS ministry was supporting the supporters, getting the people together to be a one-on-one with someone who had AIDS. And it wasn't just gay men, it was straight men too. I think of Bill Lee. Oh, Bill and his wife. Bill Lee was executive at Dayton's. And I don't know what the average life expectancy was in the early days, but it wasn't much more than a year or something like that. And so Bill Lee, I think he went through 10 people that died, and he'd get very attached to them. Well, it was scary. It was scary because nobody knew who was going to be next. And I used to go with people when they got tested. Their whole life centered around going to the hospital or doctors. You just surrendered to that. And basically, and what all we did, like as chaplains, we just listened. Basically, was our job. But the friends were taking people to the doctor and picking them up and making sure they were getting food, and all those things were needed. Especially, it started out very slow in Minnesota, so we really didn't notice it until I think in the mid '80s, we had 1 day a week. We had AIDS clinic. And then like the next year, we had 2 days a week. And the next thing was every day of the week, we had an AIDS clinic, and the medicine clinic part of it, medicine clinic, and it just boomed from there. It went from like 12 to 50 to 100, 200. Like in the first year and a half, we knew almost everyone with AIDS. And then people start coming in from the East Coast and the West Coast to die. That was the other thing. And the other thing he did was, and Joanne Lucid did a lot of this, was negotiating between families and the sick people. Being gay was still, it's not completely acceptable now, but it was way worse then. And we think how easily we talk about stuff like this now, but it was just something that wasn't talked about. So not only did the person have AIDS, but now he had to come out. And that was a lot of what we did, was sitting there and listening to families. And luckily, 9 times out of 10, the families were very accepting. And it was just like, I get this, why didn't they tell me, type of things. Or like, well, I always knew. He just couldn't talk about it, The biggest thing, I think, was that there was a gay family and there was the birth family. And so I had many funerals where we'd have the regular family funeral, and then we'd have a party afterwards for the gay couple. It got to be this thing, AIDS changed the way we do funerals. There's no ways about it. Pre-AIDS, almost everybody had a body, and it was the old classic funeral. After AIDS, almost everyone was cremated, and they'd want a life celebration party because they didn't want my family ruining it for everyone, and I wanted my people to have fun. But it was part of that family. That was the extended family that, because everybody had, we've all heard the horror stories of people who were thrown out of their house or disowned or all this stuff like that, and it was all true. So it was, that was the thing. There was that other family, and you can create other families. You're dealing with real life situations, where you can not make things better, but be there to introduce people to each other, that they really are human beings. And there's some other people that were just very sad, very terrified, that died just terrified they're going to hell because they were gay. And you could not console them or say, no. Those are the things that, they're all bad, but those are the ones that really, really got to you. I'm interested in what Michael Laughlin has to say. Having lived through it and been part of it, because I think of the people who really believe what they preach, then we got to be there. We don't have to agree with what they're doing, but we got to be there to help people. And and then it was. What they found out, it was their sons and their brothers and their families, and so people had to think twice about what they thought and who they were and all that kind of stuff. So